I actually really didn't think I was gonna like this one based on the first part. It didn't do much to interest me, and even though I liked the setting, I found myself overall somewhat disinterested. There was some fun stuff in it. I enjoyed the little moment when Ian and Barbara both expected the other one to get more wine, and also the joke about the fridge was legitimately funny, but overall, the first part didn't have a lot going for it. I found it odd that they made such a jump from the end of the last episode to the start of this one. It was okay, just a little jarring. And although in hindsight I'm glad that they didn't waste even more time not getting a lot done, so I am glad that they made that jump. I mean, there really wasn't anything wrong about the first episode, just nothing great. Although Barbara accidentally hitting Ian on the head was a little bit much for me, although I liked how that came back in the end. So I was very surprised when by the end I came up really liking this one. Like, it was by no means my favorite episode, not by a mile, but it is quite good. Those last three parts just really engaged me, and I was quite entertained. Probably my biggest takeaway from this whole thing is how much I'm coming to like the first Doctor. I just find his irritations with others to be incredibly entertaining, and his glee to be quite enjoyable. I just really like him more and more, and he's certainly not my favorite Doctor, but the more I watch him, the higher on my list he gets. He's just jolly good fun, and he really adds a lot to this show. Ian has honestly been really entertaining for me. Overall, I'm just finding him to be a rather chummy guy. I like him a good bit, and his dynamic with Barbara is really good, and I still really like Barbara. That hasn't changed, and I doubt that it will. Vicky is probably the one I'm most expected to talk about, but I don't have a lot to say about her. She's fine, she seems pretty nice, and she gives the Doctor someone to talk with in the story, but she really doesn't do much at all, aside from, like, one thing. And I wonder if a cardboard cutout of Susan would have served the same purpose that she did, and that's admittedly a little bit harsh. She's fine, there's nothing wrong with her, she seems nice, but I don't have anything to say yet, but when I do, I certainly will. This Nero character is really interesting. He's presented as very full of himself and honestly pretty disgusting, which I actually think is a good way to do it. I mean, he's a somewhat over-the-top character, but he really did work for me, and he was a good addition to this Roman story. So I want to mention a couple of things from the end of the episode, so if you don't want to hear about those, skip to this point in the video shown on screen. I'm going to give you just a moment here, and if you're going to stick with me, then I'm going to talk about those things now. So, since you're still here, I really enjoyed how the Doctor tricked them into pretending that they could hear the music, so as not to appear like idiots a la the Emperor's New Clothes. Watching everyone just pretend that they can hear this gorgeous music, and the way that they react to it says a lot about humans, but also it's kinda hilarious. It's just a really good scene, and I quite enjoyed it. It was also fun when Rome burned, and seeing how the Doctor put that idea into Nero's head, and his reaction to that is just rather fun. I also liked the way that the fridge joke came back at the end of the episode, and that was a fun scene with Barbara and Ian, although it went a little bit too far for me. I still really enjoyed it, and it is pretty funny that the Doctor thinks that Barbara and Ian have just been relaxing the whole time, but we know that they've both been through some rather difficult situations in these 4 parts. Overall, this episode did really entertain me a good bit. It had good Roman setting and some good moments for our characters. The first part does bring it down a bit, but overall, this was a legitimately good watch, and I'm giving the Romans a rating of 7.75 out of 10. If you join me again this coming Sunday, then I'll be reviewing The Web Planet. I have already seen it, and I definitely have some opinions to give you about that one. So, yeah, after that, that's approximately halfway through Season 2, so be sure to let me know what you thought about this episode down below, and I hope to see you again next Sunday, when I will be talking to you about The Web Planet. That's going to be interesting. So yeah, thank you again for watching. Tell me what you thought about this episode. Take care, and have a lovely week.